NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
In this session, we explore how the Indian businesswoman is fostering the future, creating new paradigms of leadership, innovation, inclusivity, and progress in a rapidly evolving global landscape. And the role that women are playing in the nation's growth and transformation, I have with me a very powerful panel. I have with me Kami Viswanathan. She's the President, Middle East, Indian subcontinent, and Africa for FedEx. Preeti Bajaj, CEO and MD, Luminous Power Technologies, and Padmaja Ruparel. She's a co-founder, IAN Group. Thank you, all of you, for joining me. It's extremely coincidental that all three of you actually are part of sectors which are essentially being male-dominated. So I'll start with Kami, with you first. Logistics, again, traditionally male-dominated. So what are the glass ceilings that are yet to be broken?
Thanks, Suchetna. I think there is a lot more work to be done, so let me start by saying that. FedEx, as a global corporation that works across multiple international markets, I think we recognize the power of building a global culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And 36% of our board is women. We have 26% women across management globally. Our DEI Council sets priorities and tracks progress against those, so our approach is quite structured. And we recently added opportunity to diversity, equity, and inclusion to rededicate ourselves to inclusive hiring and promotions and supporting career paths. I think the biggest work we have in front of us is how do we increase the representation of women in the logistics and supply chain sector? And I think that starts at the top of the funnel. The other big area of focus as we see it is middle management, where we see typically a drop-off in women's participation due to added responsibilities and societal expectations around childcare, elder care, and so forth. FedEx is a very people-centric culture, and a lot of our efforts around DEI have been around how do we build a culture where DEI thrives. So inclusive leadership training, for example, where we work with managers on how do you manage diverse teams. And we have senior leaders talking quarterly to our teams about how can you be intentional about inclusion. And we have a program called Walk in Someone Else's Shoes that helps build empathy for people of different diverse backgrounds and so forth. I think there is a lot more to be done. It's an ongoing journey for us. And we're always striving to do better, particularly around how do we bring in more women into the sector, how do we ensure the right career pathways with the right supportive policies, and how do you increase the proportion of women in senior management, which is ultimately, I think, the biggest challenge.
Very important points you're making, Kami, because data shows us that while you have women in middle management, the participation reduces significantly as they move up the ladder. I'll take the same question to Preeti. Globally, energy as a sector has very few women. Energy technology, you see fewer. So what are your initiatives to take the tribe along, so to say, as you see more women participate in senior management?
Yeah, I'm very delighted to say that at least at Luminous Power Technologies, the senior leadership team constitutes 33% women. So out of a 12-people leadership team, we have 3 women at the table really making a difference all day, every day. However, the way I look at it is multidimensional. I'll describe it in 3 A's. The work that needs to be done in the energy sector is, the first A is access. Equity of access to opportunities. That's super critical, and that's really about the same sort of thing that Kamini was talking about, top of the funnel, making sure that you're intentional about the caliber of women and they're getting equal representations on recruitment lists, and that we are able to address the biases sometimes that come in. The second bit is ambition. This is a two-way street, in my opinion. Women have to aspire to field roles to get to senior leadership roles. Even as I sit here today, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to sales and sales operations role, perhaps plant management roles. These are areas of opportunity we are intentional about. But that ambition, that desire to pioneer that is also something that the candidate or women themselves have to fuel. So equity of ambition to do that job has to come from the participant, and the company is responsible for creating the environment. The third A, in my view, is attainment. Attainment is about the environment we create of support, possible policies, and at Luminous we do that through, of course, equal policies wherever possible, safety of transportation, all those things that we can potentially address. When it comes to energy, my call to action to all the women would be, this is a revolutionary time in energy. It is also a bigger revolutionary time in India. So if you had to be really thinking about climate action, you had to think about how you're included in shaping the narrative of the future of the country, being in the energy sector is not necessarily optional. And this time, we should make it a point to not miss the revolution. We should be part of it so that we are part of the 2047 Viksit Bharat, so to speak.
Right. Padmaja, I'll pull you into this conversation. You know, there are more and more women entering the space of investment. But when you really started out, you were quite a lone warrior at that time. How much has the space changed? What are the glass ceilings that remain to be broken?
You know, that's true. When I started life in this field, there wasn't anybody. And that was the fun of it. And I think, sometimes I think it was a woman who could do it. You know, there was so much adaptation. There was so much education. There was so much evolution that I went through that I think that perhaps tinges on a woman's intuition to say, this is what I need to do. So I honestly think I can't be an investor if there are no entrepreneurs, right? I'm a startup investor. I'm an early stage investor. And I can't be an investor if there are no entrepreneurs. If we look at India's entrepreneurship, yes, it's grown, but there is a very abysmal growth of women entrepreneurs, right? And even more abysmal is the fact that funding is rare, right? Last year, or the previous year, 2022, we had 14.7% of funding that went to women. 23, it's dropped to 9.7. That is not encouraging. So I think one big thing is that women entrepreneurs are very rare. Right. If they're not going, yes, of course, there are some who've made it. I don't deny that. But majority of them are not going the whole path. And that is something where it's a clear goal for all of us, be it investors, be it a woman, be it an entrepreneur, be it anything. We need to nurture that and grow that. Otherwise, I think as a woman investor, I don't think I would have done justice to that. That's the entrepreneur part. I think the investor part, to be honest, we've seen investors sort of, women striking out and creating women-focused funds, women investors, partners. I mean, we have a few, and we are getting a few. But the interesting part, and this is also reflection of the investing landscape of India, that growth money is much, much lesser for women founders. And it also tells you that growth funds, there are not enough women partners or senior people driving that. And that is where you see a linkage where young women-led companies are not growing rapidly. Many of them are falling off the radar. So to my mind, I think the aspiration, if I had to sort of enunciate that from an investor perspective, it's very clear to me. We need to create the BlackRock of India led by a woman. Then we'll make it. That to me is what will drive the entrepreneurship. I mean, if there is money, there's no reason why entrepreneurs will not start. And if they're good entrepreneurs, there's no reason why investors will not come. So to me, that's a symbiotic thing, a relationship. And if it's driven by a woman, my hope is that we've invested in 23% of our portfolio is led by women. 90 board seats in our 230 companies are women. I think we can do much better if we had that thinking.
We'll move to another symbiotic relationship. We'll talk about India's expanding growth ambition and the role that you and your companies are playing in propelling that growth. I'll begin with Kami again. How is FedEx adapting to India's expanding economy, and how are you doing that by optimizing your supply chains?
Yeah. FedEx is a global connector, and we facilitate global trade across 220 countries. We see tremendous growth opportunity in India with the expanding economy. Global businesses are looking to set up operations and exports out of India to serve international markets. We see that particularly in areas like high-tech, electronics, and aviation. Indian large businesses are looking to go global and acquiring assets in global markets. The small and medium segment, both in terms of cross-border B2B as well as e-commerce, is growing very fast. So there is growth across the board in India, and we are investing in capacity from Asia to India and India westbound to Europe and the US, and also making investments in our hubs and gateway infrastructure in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, as well as the Middle East. In this current environment, supply chain resiliency is very critical for businesses, and part of building supply chain resiliency is about alternative supply sourcing and hedging supply risk. Part of it is also about having end-to-end visibility of supply chains. And that is why we have taken an approach of integrated logistics, where we offer an end-to-end solution to our customers across express, freight, air, and ocean, where our customers can work with us seamlessly without friction that they would otherwise face with multiple service providers, and also have the visibility end-to-end. And our one-stop solution platform enables our customers to manage shipments, book, track, trace, and have the visibility I spoke about. We're also leveraging data and technology, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think our biggest focus is on how do we optimize supply chain and help manage supply chains for our customers.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card, and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
Our iconic Rashtrapati Bhavan is not only a magnificent building, but also a treasure trove of historical significance.
यहाँ जो किताबें हैं बहुत पुराने किताबें और बहुत रेयर किताबें, दूसरे लाइब्रेरी में इस तरह की किताबें नहीं मिल सकती.
The prestigious President Library of Rashtrapati Bhavan has a rare collection of books, some of which are 200 years old, and they are being digitized now.
किताबों को डिजिटाइजेशन करना चाहिए, वो शुरू कर दिए हैं और इससे लोगों को बहुत फायदा हुआ है. आप पढ़ेंगे तो बढ़ेंगे.
हम ये चुनाव विकास के मुद्दे पर लड़ रहे हैं.
Let them come for an open debate with me. I've challenged Eknath Shinde multiple times. Congress is in the worst situation in this state.
महायुति में भी इससे ज़्यादा dispute है.
Everything is fair in love and politics.
वोट देने वाले ही जिताने वाले हैं ना.
So we worked on 4 options.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Our $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
Every stage of your life, you have learned something from people who are either senior to you in age or experience.
I hire people who make mistakes. I don't hire people who are very shy to make mistakes.
How much do you credit luck for your success, Mr. KP Singh?
Small. Destiny is what you make it.
India is now completely looked at from a different prism.
India will be on the high table of influencing world politics. We are there, I feel it, and I do believe that Indian diaspora is now much more proud because they are respected.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की।
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा महाराष्ट्रवाद.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त पण का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
Our iconic Rashtrapati Bhavan is not only a magnificent building, but also a treasure trove of historical significance.
यहाँ जो किताबें हैं बहुत पुराने किताबें और बहुत रेयर किताबें, दूसरे लाइब्रेरी में इस तरह की किताबें नहीं मिल सकती.
The prestigious President Library of Rashtrapati Bhavan has a rare collection of books, some of which are 200 years old, and they are being digitized now.
किताबों को डिजिटाइजेशन करना चाहिए.
the energy sector globally is evolving at such a pace, and technology and sustainability seem to be playing pivotal roles there. So how is your business strategy at Luminous making sense of all of this for India?
Yes, it is a very dynamic and ever-evolving landscape. So as Luminous, we think of it in three ways. Number one is insight. We are a homegrown brand of India. We have been around the country serving in excess of 100 million consumer homes. So when it comes to insight on usage of energy storage in the home, we've learned a lot about what the Indian consumer expects when it comes to how he or she wishes to use this essential service backup and energy in the home. We bring that insight into what I would say innovation. So very quickly we were able to understand that, okay, the grid has different conditions. What is relevant in UP is not relevant in Karnataka, and what is in Karnataka is not going to work in Kanyakumari, and whatever is working in Kanyakumari is not going to work in Jammu and Kashmir. Everywhere, the grid is different, the consumer expectation is different, and the energy storage requirement is different. And then it made us realize that when we think about solar solutions for Indian consumers, we have to think about it in the terms of off-grid, something that can work without the grid ever being connected. Hybrid, which means the grid is connected as well as can serve as a power backup unit with solar panels and battery packs. And finally, grid-tied, which is essentially where you can produce your energy and sell it back to the grid as well. And what's interesting about all this is that these dimensions, the more we travel the world, we realized are so unique to India. Mm-hmm. They're so unique to India. Right. It's not the same thing anywhere else in the world. And the third piece, what I would say, is when we think about that, Indian consumer has always been at the nexus of, I'm loving the 3 A's, so I'll start again, affordability of energy, accessibility of energy, and availability of energy. Mm-hmm. So whatever you create in terms of solutions, you've got to think about those 3 A's and feed it into that. So to that effect, I'm very proud to say that, we build our own solar panels. Right. We build every part of a solar power generating system. Mm-hmm. Part of it is making sure that there is availability, and part of it is making sure that there is affordability. Mm-hmm. And the last piece I'll say, I've spoken about the insight, the innovation, and I've spoken about the industrial ecosystem, if you think about it. The last piece, the fourth piece, is the Indian talent. Right. India has a lot of talent. And when we think about, well, we want to make in India in our 7 factories, and the 8th one is coming out of the ground, we think about how will we actually take this aspiring talent and expose it to technologies that make a difference. Right. So if you're sitting here today, I can share with you, and we never think about India in these terms, so please indulge me in my passion. We have been using distributed energy storage, which means batteries in the home longer than any other country in the world. But for some reason, we never recognized that. And now that we've recognized it, it's really, really critical that we are proud of it, yet making leaps and bounds to make sure that this is evident. And therefore, connectivity is super important. Absolutely. And that's how we think about our solutions. That's all. I will stop now.
Thanks, Preeti. Padmaja, we see a lot of startup activity in being driven by Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of India. Do you think that entrepreneurship has truly democratized in the country?
Suchetna, this is a very interesting question, but let me answer it in a slightly different way. Of course, if you look at UPI, if you look at ONDC, if you look at India's digitization, it's natural that this is going to happen, right? Democratization is going to happen. But to me, technology is largely a tool. It's accelerated startup activity, it's accelerated business, it's accelerated and eased life, right? But the reality of it is lying somewhere else. And let me share that in 4 examples rather than giving you points, right? When you go to Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 2 kind of cities, India, we talk about India as still developing. There are real problems that people, citizens of those towns and cities face. And those problems, they understand very well because they're local. And because they're local, they also need a solution. So they start building a solution there and then. And that is not only democratization of startup activity, it is creating some very innovative technology-enabled solutions for real problems being bred in India, operationalized India, and which can go global, right? So let me give you 4 examples. There's a company called Pool, born in Kanpur, right? What was the founder worried about? He saw flowers that when we go to prayer in the temples, we give flowers, we play our obeisance. Those flowers were going into the Ganges, and he saw the Ganges
being
polluted. So he collected that flowers, and out of that flower waste created incense and personal oils and a whole lot of other things. But that's not where he stopped, okay? He created an alternate to leather, right? Guess who his mentor is? His mentor today is the founder of one of the 4 global companies. I won't give you the name, but it is one of the Meta, Amazon, Netflix, Google founders.
Wow.
So that's a product born out of waste, out of the Ganges, literally, and gone global, right? Second one, think of Kerala, tier 2, right? Company called Gen Robotics. Saw his family, somebody in his family, actually having to clean the sewers, right? Created a robot to clean sewers. It's now partnering with all the municipalities in South,
right?
Gradually scaling up. Real problem, life is messed up for those sewer cleaners. He's created a solution.
Right.
Right? Third, there was the COVID. Pandemic happened. We have phenomenal engineers in this country. Born in Kanpur, they were doing a robotic waterless solar panel cleaners. Pandemic came, lockdown came, company was completely stalled, and they would have died. Right. In 95 days, they created a smart ventilator where not only were the patients saved, but also the healthcare providers maintained their social distance, right? Which was internet-enabled, it was smart, it had everything that it had. Today, that company is pushing to export to Africa, right? Again, a locally born company in a tier 2 town, born out of a need and a problem, created it in 95 days with all the approvals that were required at that time, contracted with BEL, has now got installations in tons of hospitals in this country and are pushing to go to Africa, right?
Yeah.
And the last example, outside of Udaipur, there is a whole colony of carpenters, right? Shisham wood, if you know Shisham wood, they are carpenters who are building furniture, creating furniture out of Shisham wood. They were not earning well. Great craftsmanship, but could not earn. Company called Wooden Street brought them together, and today Wooden Street is selling across the country over 100 outlets and online. Right? So born out of need, born out of real problems, entrepreneurship is not something that we can get away with. That is our DNA, and that is what we will do. We know 200 years ago, that was our DNA. It has just come back. That's
very inspiring stories that we hear from the tier 2, tier 3 cities. We've completely run out of time. There's so many questions I still have for you guys. I think we'll take it outside this podium. Thank you very much once again, Kami Viswanathan, Preeti Bajaj, Padmaja Ruparel, for taking the time and being here. Thank you very much once again.
This week on India Ascends.
All eyes on upcoming Rio G20. India poised to mend emerging economies, G7 divisions. Trump 2.0. Is it time up, Trudeau? Ottawa stares at fresh turmoil. Chinese security personnel in Pakistan. Is it Beijing's bid to colonize Islamabad? And in Bangladesh, why does Attorney General want secular removed from the constitution?
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
The last elections of 2024. It's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies?
The election poll panel cracks the whip on several leaders including JP Nadda and Mallikarjun Kharge. EC takes action on poll code violation and the action is on contentious campaign remarks. Top Congress netas react on Election Commission's bag check list. Rahul Gandhi's bag is checked day after his chopper is delayed. Telangana CM Revant Reddy's bags are also checked in poll-bound Maharashtra. At least 10 newborns die in a massive fire in a neonatal intensive care unit of a state-run hospital in Jhansi. UP Deputy CM seeks probe reports in 24 hours. Meanwhile, PM Modi announces 2 lakh rupees ex gratia for king of the deceased. Opposition hits out at Yogi Adityanath, says it's a clear case of negligence. Akhilesh Yadav slams the CM, says quit campaigning and come back to UP. Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on his landmark 3-nation tour. All eyes are on the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit in Brazil. Here's the latest. Poll panel has cracked the whip on several senior leaders involved in the Maharashtra election campaign. Notices have gone out to JP Nadda and Mallikarjun Kharge. The context is poll code violation. The poll panel has wrapped the party chiefs for several violations conducted by leaders in the party. EC action has come down. EC has come down heavily on contentious campaign remarks in poll-bound Maharashtra and sent letters to Congress and BJP chiefs with a series of complaints. BJP has complained to EC over Rahul Gandhi's remark on Constitution. Congress has told EC Modi-Shah poll campaign was divisive. Let's listen into this report from our colleague Sunil Prabhu.
The Election Commission reiterating its earlier notification to the party presidents in 2024 during the Lok Sabha elections, once again reiterating that and asking both Mr. Kharge as well as Mr. JP Nadda to respond on behalf of their star campaigners. This, as you know, is a new precedent that the Election Commission has followed ever since the Lok Sabha, when it couldn't, directly, pinpoint and say to the star campaigner, they asked the presidents to respond. So now that precedent has started. So be it Amit Shah's complaint or be it Rahul Gandhi's complaint, the party presidents have to explain, give a response by the 18th. By then, of course, it will be a little bit too late because it's 18 to 1 o'clock. By then, whatever action you have to take, the campaigning would have come. But nevertheless, the Election Commission ticking the boxes in terms of its constitutional duty of issuing notices to both the party chiefs. What action remains to be seen and how they respond is another matter, but at least they have taken note about what they believe is blatant misuse of the language and the decorum that is required to be done during a poll campaign.
Maharashtra Chief Minister's bag was checked again. This was the second bag check that CM Eknath Shinde underwent in 3 days' time. His bag was today checked in Thane. CM was heading to Konkan for a meeting. Remember, the bag checks continue to be a big controversy ahead of the Maharashtra polls. Several opposition leaders had complained about their bags being checked. Following that, BJP has also started releasing videos of bags being checked of their leaders. In fact, Mahayuti and MVA have been locked in a battle over bag checks. Today, as you can see, Maharashtra CM Eknath Shinde's bag is being checked in Thane ahead of his visit to Konkan for a meeting. Row over bag check continues. Rahul Gandhi's bag was also checked in Maharashtra. EC officials have checked his chopper as well. Rahul's bag was checked by poll officials in Amravati. He arrived in Amravati for an election campaign. A day after Congress's complaint to EC, Rahul's bag was searched today. Congress had alleged grounding of Rahul's chopper in Jharkhand.
I mean, what is to be a procedural norm became a political event, especially after former Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray posted a video, when he was in Yavatmal and when his bag was being checked, saying that the Election Commission of India does not provide a level playing field for both the alliances involved here in the elections. And, more fuel was added to the fire when on the very next day we saw his bags were checked again when he was there in Rathore. And after that, a lot of the Mahavikas Aghadi leaders from the state and from the national level started talking about various other instances when, according to them, ECI had not given a level playing field. After that, we saw that the two deputy chief ministers, the chief minister, several cabinet ministers, including Amit Shah, as you named before, and JP Nadda, Ramdas Athawale, all their bags were checked at different intervals and different points of time across the state. And that was seen as an attempt by either the Election Commission of India or by the party and the coalition in the government to portray that ECI is indeed putting forth an objective procedural norm which is same for everyone. Today, of course, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's bag has been checked in the Ratnagiri Thane region of the state, and this is the second time in the last 7 days or 5 days when his bag has been checked. And as you said, it is in the last election as well, after some allegations were leveled against him by the Mahavikas Aghadi leaders, his bags were checked in Nashik too, and even that became a bit of controversy back then. Besides this, today, several other leaders' bags were also checked. Just a while back, we saw that Rahul Gandhi was in Dhamangao, Amravati, where as soon as his chopper landed, his bags were checked by the ECI officials. Sharad Pawar is in Nashik today. His bags were checked. We have Sanjay Raut, who's in Raigad today. Even his bags were checked. So we see that leaders from across the parties are following the norm, and ECI is at least trying to portray the fact that they are keeping it as a level playing field. Now, we're barely 2 days away from the elections, and we can expect more such videos to come up in the coming days.
Now, Telangana Chief Minister Revant Reddy's bag and vehicle was also checked. The election officials have, there you can see on your pictures, conducting checks on Revant Reddy's vehicle, and he was in the car while the vehicle was being checked. He was all of this happened during his poll campaign in Maharashtra earlier today. Moving to another story, Battle of Stars. Tamil star Nayanthara has accused actor-producer Dhanush of festering vengeance against her forthcoming Netflix documentary after the latter sent a legal notice for the use of certain unauthorized clips in the film. The Netflix docudrama Nayanthara Beyond the Fairy Tale, set to stream from November 18th, offers a peek into Nayanthara's professional and personal journey, including her marriage to film director Vignesh Shivan. The documentary features accounts from friends and colleagues and is peppered with visuals and highlights from her iconic films. It is a battle between two of the top stars of the Tamil film industry. Now, as the Jharkhand Assembly elections approach on the 20th, which is the second phase of the elections in Jharkhand, all eyes are on Jamtara, a region notorious for cyber frauds yet brimming with promises of change and development. On November 28th, the people of Jamtara will decide between 13 candidates, but the contest is particularly heated between two key players: Congress's sitting MLA Irfan Ansari and BJP's Sita Soren, the daughter-in-law of Jharkhand's political stalwart Shibu Soren and sister-in-law of Chief Minister Hemant Soren. Take a look.
माँ बहनों को 1,000 रुपया कौन दिया?
Dr. Irfan Ansari, the incumbent MLA from Congress, rallies with the message of progress, touting his work in infrastructure and social development. His track record includes the construction of new roads, hospitals and a major bridge, one he claims to be the largest in Jharkhand's history. At a late-night gathering with supporters at his residence, Ansari reflects on his contributions, admitting that transforming Jamtara into a city akin to Ranchi or Devghar requires time.
जामताड़ा एक गाँव था। आज आप देखिए यहाँ सड़कें मिलेंगी, हॉस्पिटल मिलेंगे, यहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी मिलेगा, यहाँ आपको मैंने बिरबिंदिया पुल जो ये झारखंड का सबसे बड़ा पुल जो है, अब तक के इतिहास का सबसे बड़ा पुल मैं दिया हूँ। मैं लड़के लाया हूँ उसको, व्यवस्था लाया हूँ मैं, चलाने में समय लगता है, सेटअप करने में समय लगता है।
However, the Congress candidate recently found himself in controversy over a viral statement regarding his opponent. An FIR was filed. Though Ansari claims the statement was doctored, he vows to pursue defamation after the elections.
मैं राजनीतिक से इस्तीफा ले लूँगा। अब बताइए 10 साल से मैं यहाँ का विधायक हूँ, काम कर रहा हूँ। एक भी पब्लिक इरफान अंसारी, एक भी माताएं, एक भी बहनें इरफान अंसारी गलत नहीं बोल सकता। मैं चुनाव में लड़ रहा हूँ, अब मैं अपने पैर में खुद कुल्हाड़ी मारूंगा क्या? पैसा तो नहीं मेरे पास उतना, लेकिन फिर भी मैं जनता से लेकर 100 करोड़ का मानहानि का दावा पेश करूँगा।
On the other side, Sita Soren is running her campaign with a promise of change. The BJP candidate, an heir to the legacy of Durga Soren, pledges to fulfill her late husband's dream of developing Jamtara.
जो पतिदेव थे स्वर्गीय दुर्गा सोरेन जी, उनका बहुत बड़ा सपना था कि झारखंड को इस तरह से जापान बनाए। उनका सपना था, उस सपना को ये करके हम भी ले करके चले कि हम जमा में विकास करें।
The rivalry between Ansari and Soren has intensified with allegations flying from both sides. While Sita rejects Ansari's statements as baseless accusation, she asserts a commitment to development.
जब से पार्टी ने टिकट दिए हैं, मेरे बारे में अनाप शनाप बकते ही रहे हैं, तो उनको कैसे मानेंगे कि ये एडिट है? कहीं हमको बोल लेते हैं बाहरी, तो बाहरी हम कैसे हुए भाई? तो वो साबित करें हम बाहरी किस रूप से हुए?
The BJP has raised concerns over alleged Bangladeshi infiltration, particularly in Santhal Pargana areas, framing it as a significant election issue. Congress, however, dismisses this as divisive politics.
अब कहीं घुसपैठिया नहीं है, अब बेवजह झारखंड को बदनाम कर रहे हो यार, यहाँ के बच्चों का अस्मिता के साथ खिलवाड़ कर रहे हो, इज्जत के साथ खिलवाड़ कर रहे हो।
जो एक समुदाय की जनसंख्या घटना एक आदिवासियों के लिए आने वाले दिनों में ये एक विकराल रूप ले ही रहा है, क्योंकि आदिवासी कहाँ जा रहे हैं।
With a mixed electorate comprising 30.10% Muslim and 27.2% tribal voters, both Ansari and Soren are vying for influence within these demographics. Congress's strong historical hold with 12 wins out of 8 elections since 1952 faces a considerable challenge from the BJP. Ansari's father, Furqan Ansari, served as MLA here 5 times, solidifying a family legacy.
Welcome to Jamtara, a city that has travelled an incredible distance in both time and reputation. Once associated with famous social reformer
Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, who championed the cause of equality, education and social justice. The city is now infamous for a different reason: cybercrime. In villages like Sindorajori and Karmatand, stories abound of luxurious homes built with fraudulent wealth. Police record shows that in 2021, Jamtara saw 76 cybercrime cases with 187 arrests, with similar figure in 2022. Despite a dip in national cybercrime shares, Jamtara still bears nearly 10% of India's cases, a shadow that looms over the election landscape. Yet as campaign escalates, local youth express concern that the focus on national and party lines is overshadowing urgent local issues like healthcare, education and employment.
बात हमारे आसपास का डेवलपमेंट का तो वो हो रहा है, पर और ज़रूरी है जी, स्कूल के फील्ड में, कॉलेज के फील्ड में और पढ़ाई एजुकेशन के मामले में।
बांग्लादेशी को तो नहीं होना चाहिए। हम जैसे खुद बांग्ला बोलते हैं, तो ऐसा थोड़ी है कि हम बांग्लादेशी का हो गए हैं।
जामताड़ा का कुछ बेसिक जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो सब में ध्यान देना चाहिए। फिलहाल इस इलेक्शन में वो मुद्दा रहना चाहिए।
आप लोगों को लगता है कि क्या बुनियादी मुद्दे हैं?
हॉस्पिटल में यहाँ पर इमरजेंसी सुविधा कुछ वैसा नहीं है। कुछ भी होता है रेफर कर दिया जाता है धनबाद में या फिर रांची में, लेकिन जाने में ही मौत हो जाती है वो।
जामताड़ा का मुद्दा जो है वो विकास ही है और विकास ही होगा।
चुनाव में मुद्दा यही रहेगा जो शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य, सब तंदुरुस्त हो।
अच्छा, रोजगार आपके लिए भी
यही रहे।
With its layered history and current notoriety, Jamtara remains a unique constituency. As election day nears, it stands as microcosm of Jharkhand's broader challenges, a battle for progress amidst legacy, change and the ghosts of cybercrime. In Jamtara, with camera person Rizwan Khan and Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
Moving on to another poll-bound state, Maharashtra. For over 130 years, the army of Dabbawalas of Mumbai have kept the office goers of the city fed, ensuring their lunch box with warm meal reaches on time. But after COVID-19 pandemic, the rise of food delivery apps and incomes of Dabbawalas have taken a hit. And as election approaches, a look at what do the Dabbawalas in Mumbai want.
I'm in the Lower Parel area of Mumbai, the financial capital of India, and at noon every day there's a lot of hectic activity that takes place, the sorting of dabbas. For 135 years now, an army of Mumbai Dabbawalas has been keeping the city of Mumbai fed, every office goer fed. In fact, office goers of Mumbai have depended on the service for several years, ensuring that home-cooked food reaches their office at 12 or 1 p.m. every day. This is a group of Dabbawalas very integral to the soul and ethos of Mumbai. And since COVID-19 pandemic struck, and also the rise of food delivery platforms took place, this is a group of people that has been facing a challenging time. Let's listen into what their expectations are from the upcoming government. सर ये बताइए कि जब से ये फूड डिलीवरी ऐप्स आए हैं, मुंबई डब्बावालास की सर्विस में कोई दिक्कत आई है? आपकी लाइफ में, आपकी ये प्रोफेशन काम में क्या-क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आए हैं?
कोरोना के बाद थोड़ा सा मतलब बंद हुआ था, पर जोमेटो और स्विगी से वजह से थोड़ा फर्क पड़ा था। उसके बाद थोड़ा धीरे-धीरे चालू हो गया, सबको मालूम हो गया, डब्बा वाला चालू हो गया। तो कस्टमर ने बाहर का खाना थोड़ा छोड़ दिया और अपना घर का ही खाना कर दिया। इसके वजह से हमारे वर्कर लोग अभी सब लोग काम पे आ रहे हैं।
आपकी इनकम में बढ़ोतरी आ रही है, कम हो रहा है?
नहीं, पहले कम था थोड़ा, अभी थोड़ा बढ़ गया है। 17-18 हज़ार रुपया मिल रहा है महीने का।